Welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. Today I am reviewing Curse of the Mistwraith, Book 1 of the Wars of Light and Shadow by Janny Wurts. This review will be spoiler free. Now I also want to mention before I start the review that we will indeed be doing our read-along of the Wars of Light and Shadow. In fact, I am organizing a discussion that will include Jimmy from the Fantasy Network, Joanna, AP from A Critical Dragon, and the author herself, Janny Wurts. This discussion, this preliminary discussion, will be an introduction to our read-along and to the series, The Wars of Light and Shadow. It will be informational and spoiler-free, and it'll be there for anyone who might be thinking about joining in the read-along. And as a little bonus, there will be a giveaway of Book 2, this very copy of Book 2 of The Wars of Light and Shadow. And in fact, because it is the hard copy, it is the hardcover, it includes both Books 2 and 3, which is Arc 2 of the series. Yes, indeed, it includes the Ships of Merior, as it says on the cover, but it also includes Book 3 as well. So it's a 2-in-1, and it's free. It's a giveaway that we are doing to inspire people to join in on this read-along. So with that, let me begin my spoiler-free review of Curse of the Mistwraith. Now, from this book, from Curse of the Mistwraith, I get the feeling that Wars of Light and Shadow, which is an 11-book series with Book 11 in its final stages of editing, is one of the heavyweights of the fantasy genre, comparable to Realm of the Elderlings or the Malazan Book of the Fallen. In terms of its thematic depth and richness, the scale of the story and the world and the layers of history behind it, and the strength of the character portrayals, all of that. I had the feeling from reading the first book, Curse of the Mistwraith, that what I'm in for here is something on the scale of Realm of the Elderlings and the Malazan Book of the Fallen. That is about the highest praise I can give for a fantasy series. It is not, as you can tell, a casual or a popcorn read, but rather Wurts' expert and haunting storytelling demands engagement from the reader, who will likely find themselves thinking of the tale, even while not reading the book, and certainly long after finishing it. But I also want to say that Wurts' writing is distinct. It is very distinctive, in fact. Having read 2 books by Janny Wurts, in addition to Curse of the Mistwraith, I have read To Ride Hell's Chasm, which is a standalone. So having read those 2 books, I now feel like I have a pretty good feel for her prose. It is often formal and yet richly suggestive. It is conducive to some gorgeous descriptions, which some of which I'll be sharing, I think, when we have that discussion, some non-spoiler descriptions in there. They are just so rich and so compelling. And also, I would say that her prose is conducive to the psychological exploration of her characters. And it also allows for a variety of pacing. So there are many scenes of contemplation, and these are interspersed, especially toward the end of the book, with some breathless scenes of action. And because of the investment in the characters that has been created by the slower moments, the action has an even more visceral impact. And I must say, in terms of characters, that Arathon has launched into among my very favorite characters, not only of fantasy, but of literature, period. Arathon is just, for me, wow, what an amazing character with so much depth and psychological realism. What a compelling character, and many others as well. So, just lots of great things to say about the characters. I also want to say that Janny Wurts' knowledge of certain common elements of fantasy writing is very evident. Horses, for example, okay? Horses are important for fantasy. They do come up every once in a while as the primary means of transportation of the times frequently. And Wurtz's equine knowledge is astounding, and it is pervasive and yet somehow also unobtrusive. And it lends her stories a beautiful authenticity. Her knowledge of not only of horses, but of other things as well. There's a lot of authenticity to the story, which is an interesting thing to say about a fantasy series, but you feel immersed in this world because of her knowledge. And I also want to say a word about the themes, and I will elaborate on these along with my friends when we get together and we have our non-spoiler introduction to our read-along. But just to mention a few right off the bat that seemed very expertly dealt with in Curse of the Mistwraith. And I expect these themes to most likely continue in the series. One most certainly is fate and free will. And how much say do we have in our actions and in the course of our lives? Another big one in here is compassion. Compassion is at the heart of this story, Curse of the Mistwraith. And I would also say duty, which can conflict sometimes with certain decisions that might seem compassionate, perhaps even toward oneself. So one's self-fulfillment versus one's duty. Also, creativity is huge in here. For a person who is as creative as Janny Wurts, creativity is bound to be an important theme. She is not only the writer of all these books, but she's the illustrator. She is the one who creates all of her own covers in all of these beautiful books. Another theme in here is justice. Justice looms large, and the nature of it, and how do we achieve justice, and at what expense do we achieve justice. And finally, a theme that she really hammers home here is the horrors of war. The horrors of war. There were parts of this book that absolutely had me gutted. And I mean in a way that I have not perhaps previously encountered, where things happened that were very difficult for me on the battlefield and near the battlefield, and just to feel myself screaming no, while this is happening before me. I almost felt like I was there in the midst of it, and trying my best to prevent, along with the characters, certain things from happening. So I was most certainly thrown into the conflict. So many things done brilliantly in Curse of the Mistwraith. It is a marvelous introduction to this world, the world of Athera. And Janny Wurts' writing, if you haven't read anything by her before, this could be a wonderful introduction to her work. But I'm just so delighted that I am now one book into the Wars of Light and Shadow, and I'm very excited to be talking about it in the not-so-distant future with my friends and with Janny Wurts herself. And yeah, this is going to be great, folks. So that's it from me for now. Until next time.